Welcome again to another video. This is the part 2 of creating and folding back a decision tree using TreePlan. In the first video, we found the basic tree for the following problem. For more information, watch the part 1 of the video and see how we created a tree for part A. Part B is saying here, suppose Humber can hire an agency to review and indicate the overall chances of favorable network reaction to the series at a P of 2500. The agency review results in either favorable or unfavorable evaluation. In the past, this type of evaluation is accurate 85% of the time. Revise the decision tree with the additional information. So here, the outcomes are favorable or unfavorable. In either case, the TV production team, they still have to make a decision based on the same tree structure that we did in the first part. This is the decision in the first part. They have two options to produce or sell as a decision alternative. Selling it, there is no alternatives here. If they produce it, the outcome could be either the network will reject it or buy it. So in either case, they hire or they don't hire, favorable or unfavorable outcome, you're going to have the same structure with different probabilities. So one of the first things we have to do is find what we call the revised probability, which is probability of the outcome given favorable or unfavorable. Outcome here would be reject or buy. What the problem is giving us is the other way around. The conditional probability for favorable given the outcome, unfavorable given the outcome. For more information on the conditional and revised probability and Bayes theorem, look for the lecture notes under decision tree in my channel. So now we're going to enter first the prior probability, which is the probability of the outcome as it's given in the problem and as it's stated here in the tree. So 0.3 to reject, 0.7 to accept or buy it. The same idea is going to be over here. The hardest part in the conditional probability is reading the question and getting the right answer. So here it's saying what? In the past, this type of evaluation is accurate 85% of the time. That's all the information given to us, but this is what we need. What does it mean, accurate 85% of the time? It means that for accuracy, if the outcome of the survey is favorable, favorable means the outcome should be in our favor, which means the network will buy the series. This is what accurate means. So probability of favorable, given that we buy it, it's going to be 85%. Same idea, accurate means what? If the outcome of the survey is unfavorable, which means it's not in our favor, what's accurate here and not in our favor? That they're going to reject it. So we're going to put 0.85 over here. Now, this is 0.85, that means this is going to be 0.15. These two, you add them, you should get 1. If this is 0.85, this should be 0.15. The second step in Bayes theorem, as we're doing it here in the table, is to find what we call the joint probability, because the revised probability, which is probability of outcome given favorable, is basically the joint divided by probability of the sum, the favorable probability of the given. Okay, so this is conditional probability. It's always probability of the outcome and the given divided by probability of the given. The joint probability, as it says over here, it's the prior times conditional. So we're going to take the prior times conditional to get this value. and we're going to repeat that over here. Same for the unfavorable report. It's going to be prior times conditional, and we're going to drag it. If we add these two values, we should get the probability of the favorable, which is 0.64. And if we add these two values, we should get the probability of the unfavorable, which is 1 minus probability of the favorable. So if you add these two, you should get 1. Now we come to the revised probability. It says what? It's the joint, which is this, divided by probability of the favorable. And we're going to press F4, so when I copy it, it keeps the same value for the favorable. So let's drag this, and you can see here that the sum of these two should add up to 1. So let's move this formula, and you can see that the sum is 1. If the sum is not 1, if the sum of these two are not 1, that means you messed up here with the conditional probability. So same idea. It's going to be the joint divided by the sum. I'm going to press F4 to make it absolute reference. And we're going to drag it. Drag the sum formula here. And you see that the sum is 1. Now we have the revised probability. We have the probability of the favorable and unfavorable. So I'm going to highlight these because these are the values that we need. So these two values, this one over here, and these two values. Now our next step is to modify the tree to have the revised tree. I can start a new tree and add all these branches, or I can modify this tree to work with keep this structure because I already did it. Especially when you have a bigger tree, you don't want to redo all these steps. So in order to revise this tree, we're going to go to the first decision node here, go to add-ins, and click on decision tree. See, as we talked about in the first video, depending on where you are in the tree, every time you press decision tree or Control-Shift-T, you will get different window. So here I don't want to change it to an event, I don't want to add a branch, and I want to insert a decision. So now we have two decisions in a row. For this decision, I'm going to press one more time, and I'm going to add a branch, and I'll tell you why. So the first branch would be do not hire the consultant. The second branch would be hire the consultant. If they don't hire the consultant, it's the same thing we did in part A. Same decision with the same payoff and the same probability. If they hire the consultant, this is where we have two outcomes. They're not a decision, they're an event. And I have two outcomes. They are favorable and unfavorable. So I'm going to put favorable here, unfavorable over here. Now in each case, and this is the case in this problem and so many problems similar to it, the structure is the same. The decision is still the same. They still have to make a decision on producing or selling the video. So we're going to repeat this structure over here. Now, instead of repeating that, TreePlan offers me, click on the decision here, offers me an option to copy this subtree. So I'm going to copy it, goes into the clipboard, click over here on this branch, and I'm going to paste it. Click OK. Take some time. And here we go. Now the problem with this option is it doesn't stay. So if I click right now, I don't have the option to paste it. So it doesn't stay in the clipboard once it's pasted. So we're going to repeat that option. I'm going to copy it. Come over this branch and I'm going to paste it. Here we go. So now we have, if they don't hire, same problem that we did in part A. If they hire, we have two outcomes, favorable and unfavorable, with different structure, the same structure, different values. So now the only thing we need to do is change these probabilities based on what we got over here. So probability of reject given favorable is 0.07. So we're going to come over here and put 0.07. See, error because they don't add up to 1. So this is 0.93. Probability of reject given unfavorable 0.71. So we're going to come over here, reject given unfavorable, make the connection, reject given unfavorable. The answer was 0.71. So we're going to change this to 0.71, which means this is going to be 0.29. Add, we got 1. The other thing that we need to change is the probability of favorable and unfavorable. By default, TreePlan, as we mentioned before, puts 0.5 and 0.5. The values we got is 0.64, 0.36. So this is going to be 0.64. You see NA because it's an error, 0.36. Now we have the answer. The only thing that's missing is the cost of this hiring the consultant, which is $2,500. Now I have to subtract this value from the payoff because it's going to be a cost. I'm going to lose $2,500, whatever the decision here. Here, there is no loss because they didn't hire the consultant, which means they didn't pay the $2,500. As I mentioned in the first video, if you didn't touch these values here because they are formulas, you enter your values in the zeros provided here, you don't have to do the calculation yourself. The only thing you have to do is you come under hire, you see the 0 here, and this is where we insert the cost of hiring the consultant. Since it's a cost, it has to be minus 2,500. Once I press enter, you will see that all these values will change. Now, let's fold back the tree. We're going to look at the decision tree. So, what are the options? Let's see. We start from here, and what do we get? The decision is 2, which means it's not the first branch, the second branch. The second branch is to hire the consultant. Hire the consultant and wait. If it's a favorable decision, if it's favorable outcome, the decision is to go with the first branch, which is produce. If it's unfavorable, the decision here is to go with the second branch, which is sell. So we're going to say hire consultant and wait. If it's favorable,